The Venezuelan people commemorated a month of the electoral process and the strengthening of their democracy. The Supreme Court of Brazil threatened to ban social media X unless its owner, Elon Musk, appoints a legal representative in the country. And in Palestine, the number of people killed in a two-day Israeli military operation in the occupied West Bank rose to 18. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. On Wednesday, the Venezuelan people commemorated 1 month after the electoral process and the strengthening of their democracy, the triumph of Nicolás Maduro, and the will of those who want to preserve peace over violence. Let's see the details.
The Venezuelan people took to the streets to celebrate 1 month of the electoral triumph of Nicolás Maduro Moros, who is still in charge of the country. A month with many political, international and social challenges where the violent events managed to be placated.
We have come to ratify our vote on July 28th. Because we voted for Nicolás Maduro and we want the sovereignty of the people to be respected. We voted for Nicolás Maduro. We do not want interference in any country that comes to say Maduro won. And we are here in defense of our vote. Respect the vote of the sovereign people of Venezuela.
We have completed 1 month since the victory of President Nicolás Maduro. As a young Chavista, a young person who studies, who works well, I am happy that today, as an organized people, we can march in the streets of Caracas and celebrate the great victory of all the Venezuelans.
The Venezuelan people are constantly fighting for their sovereignty and against interference, demanding respect for their internal processes and showing their reality to the world.
Yo le pido al pueblo opositor, al pueblo consciente,
I ask the opposition people, the conscious people, the people who truly love their homeland, who still have family here, to remain calm, to accept that we are the majority and that we can dialogue. Because we are a people of peace, we are a people of love, and by talking things can be solved.
Celebrating in the streets. Only we Chavistas know how to do, with joy, with enthusiasm, to keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Some want to remain in the past, who want to remain in hatred and violence, and who want to remain stagnant. We will continue moving forward. The country is not going to stop. On the contrary, the country is going to redouble its march to keep moving forward.
They also celebrate Venezuelan democracy. The July 28th process was followed by a couple of days ago by a national consultation of the popular basis, an ever-deepening democracy.
Because the people are getting organized, the popular power is getting organized to generate the changes that need to be generated. That is why the people are happy, the people are in the streets, and the next 6 years are going to be very victorious.
Hugo Rafael Chavez raised a conscience in us, where his people understand that we have problems, but we are going to solve them among Venezuelans. We cannot leave our problems to someone else to solve them. We are the ones who are called to solve the problems of Venezuela. Venezuela is a country of peace, and we are fighting for the peace we want, and Venezuela deserves peace.
During the last 4 weeks, the march ended at the Miraflores Palace, where it was received by the President Nicolás Maduro Moros, who celebrated the triumph of peace and joy in Venezuela. Gladys Quesada, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
And on Wednesday, the extreme right-wing sectors also gathered in the capital, Caracas. The concentration took place in the east of Caracas, specifically in the municipality of Chacao. Aerial images showed low participation for the activity that was called by the far-right opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. Low turnout has been a constant throughout these calls for mobilization made by the far-right sector, as the sector continues to ignore public authorities of the country, as well as the official results of the presidential elections of July 28th. And also in this context, the Venezuelan Public Prosecutor's Office will issue a third summon to former opposition presidential candidate Edmundo González for the alleged commission of several crimes. Venezuelan Attorney General Tarek William Saab, in declarations to the press in Caracas, indicated on Wednesday that a third summon would be issued. In case of his absence, once again, the public ministry in due time would announce the corresponding action to be taken in accordance with the law. The official specified that according to the jurisprudence of the criminal chamber, a person may be summoned up to 3 times. In the case of Gonzalez, the summon is for him to testify, and a process against him already in progress for alleged crimes and also for disobedience of the law. And meanwhile, on Thursday, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, thanked King Abdullah II bin al-Hussein and the government of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan for their congratulations on his victory at the July 28th election. On Wednesday, the Jordanian senior authorities sent a complimentary letter to which the Venezuelan head of state replied that he thanked King Abdullah II bin al-Hussein, his people, and the government of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan for their congratulations to the Venezuelan people on the July 28th presidential election. He also stated that they would continue to strengthen their ties of friendship and cooperation for benefiting the mutual breakthrough of our peoples. And now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Mexico, changes in the consumption patterns of products and services after the COVID-19 pandemic have transformed the way inflation is measured. Our correspondent Daniel Rosas will tell us more on the subject and its impact on the Mexican economy.
Selling music in hard copies is becoming less and less common, but this small store in Mexico City is an example of resilience.
Even during the pandemic, we had a growth because all the people were locked up, so what they did was to buy their stereos to be at home listening to music. After the pandemic, our sales dropped a little bit.
But the good conditions of the Mexican economy allow them not only to maintain, but to grow.
Most of our merchandise, if not almost all of it, is imported, and then, since the exchange rate dropped surprisingly, on the contrary, we were able to adjust our prices, both for turntables and records. We were able to lower them a little.
Changes in the way people consume led the National Statistics Institute to make adjustments in the way inflation is measured.
For example, the technological change. Cell phones. Now more cell phones are being consumed. There are changes in the form of marketing. Now you can buy online. It is not necessary to go to places to buy.
To this, we can add changes derived from the confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic, and now the so-called post-COVID.
Now after COVID, private and public companies are already introducing home office, and that makes us consume more internet. For example, in homes, streaming and music downloads, which are replacing CDs and DVDs.
After the changes, the latest measurement showed a decrease in inflation, which had been on an upward trend.
Daniel Rosas, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
In other news, the Supreme Court of Brazil threatened to ban social media X unless the owner, Elon Musk, appoints a legal representative in the country. In an order made public, Justice Chief Alexander de Moraes gave the billionaire 24 hours to appoint a legal representative for X if he is not willing the immediate suspension of the platform. The ruling comes after X on August 17th justified the closure of its Brazilian offices on the basis of allegations against Minister de Moraes, who is in charge of the case. This would represent the latest chapter in a long dispute between the Brazilian judicial authorities and billionaire Elon Musk, who also owns Tesla and SpaceX. In Argentina, the bloc of senators of La Libertad Avanza, the party of President Javier Milei, decided on Wednesday to expel one of its members due to irreconcilable political differences. It was the ruling party legislator for the province of Formosa, Francisco Paultroni, who opposed the appointment of federal judge Ariel Lijo to complete the list of the Supreme Court of Justice, contrary to the wishes of the government house. On Tuesday, Congresswoman Lourdes Arrieta also left the bloc, minutes before her colleagues were about to expel her from the parliamentary bench after she unleashed a public scandal for the visit of a commission of legislators to repressors convicted for crimes against humanity committed during the last civic-military dictatorship in the country. The decision of Malay senators further exposes the political crisis that the ruling party is going through in the legislative branch. In Panama, workers protested on the grounds of the National Assembly against the ratification of Dino Mon as director of the Social Security Fund. Citizens of the workers' sector questioned Dino Mon's capacity to manage the Social Security Fund, arguing that his vision is not compatible with the needs and demands of the country's insured and workers. They also rejected the appointment of Dino Mon because of his role as manager as a private insurance company and his public position in favor of measures such as increasing the retirement age. Members of the Confederation of Independent Union Unity stated that they are waiting for a dialogue table where they can discuss proposals to address the crisis of the Social Security Fund. In Costa Rica, thousands of people and more than 70 organizations marched in the capital, San Jose, to defend public education after claiming that the sector has been underfunded by the government of Rodrigo Chavez. This way, students, teachers, unionists, and professionals marched under the slogan, "Education today, peace tomorrow," demanding a bigger budget for the educational sector. The demonstrators reiterated the importance of allocating 8% of the gross domestic product to the education budget as established in the Constitution. The mobilizations take place after the government concluded negotiations with the National Council of Rectors to define the special fund for higher education for 2025 without favorable results for the universities. And in other news, Paris prosecutor's office released the founder of Telegram messaging app, Pavel Durov, on a bail of 5 million euros. After a hearing for several hours with 2 investigative judges, the authorities informed that the businessman was placed under judicial supervision and prohibited him from leaving French territory, in addition to imposing bail, after he was arrested on August 24th at a Paris airport on charges related to the alleged criminal use of his application, including terrorism, drug trafficking, money laundering, and fraud. In the United States, 10 weeks ahead of a presidential election that appears to be tight, Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and former Republican President Donald Trump tour strategic states in search of their support. Encouraged by her formal nomination during Chicago's DNC, Kamala Harris is campaigning on Wednesday and Thursday in Georgia, one of the 7 swing states where the November 5th vote promises to be especially close. Precisely, her campaign team has stated that they are working hard to win Georgia again on 2024 after flipping the state to a Democratic side for the first time in 3 decades in 2020. For his part, Donald Trump claims that he has a very stable base, even more fervent since he was a victim of an attack on July 13th, and that various lawsuits against him have not diminished his support. And meanwhile, on Wednesday, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, revealed new details about the author of the attack on Republican presidential candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump. The agency stated that Thomas Crooks possibly acted alone and that his motive is still unknown. The FBI also released photos of some of the evidence the agents collected in their investigation, consisting primarily on the weapon recovered at the scene, that is an AR-type rifle, manufactured by DPMS Panther Arms, which has an extendable rear stock and optical sight, 2 improvised explosive devices that were discovered in the trunk of Crooks' car, and the air conditioning unit the authorities think he used to access the roof of the building. And now we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, visited Sudan to bolster humanitarian efforts in the war-torn country. Mohammed, together with the Secretary General's personal envoy for Sudan, Rabnane Lamamra, and an interagency delegation consists of senior officials from the WFP, the UNHCR, and UNICEF arrived in Port Sudan to meet with the Nation's Sovereignty Council, senior officials, and the UN country team to hold meetings focusing on strengthening humanitarian efforts in the region. The ongoing conflict in Sudan erupted in April 2023, and according to United Nations reports, has killed tens of thousands and displaced millions, precipitating one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. We go now to Palestine, where the number of people killed in a two-day Israeli military operation in the occupied West Bank rose to 18. Wafa news agency reported that among the dead are 8 people in the governorate of Yenin, 6 in Tulkarem, and 4 in Tubas. In addition, dozens of people were injured in the attacks by the Israeli occupation army. During the raids, soldiers raided civilian homes, destroyed infrastructure, and arrested 25 people from Wednesday afternoon to Thursday morning. August was one of the most violent months of the year in the West Bank, with at least 70 Palestinians killed by Israeli fire. In this context, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on Israel to immediately halt its operation in the northern West Bank. The Secretary General said that these dangerous developments are fueling an already explosive situation in the region and further undermine the Palestinian Authority. After expressing deep concern over recent developments that have involved the use of airstrikes resulting in casualties and damage to civilian infrastructure, the Secretary General strongly condemned the loss of life, including that of children. In other news, Syria's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Al-Hakam Dendi, demanded during a Security Council session to discuss political and humanitarian issues in Syria to stop the Pentagon's plundering of national wealth and its support for terrorism and its proxy militias. The diplomat denounced that these illegal formations of separatist tendency launch criminal attacks on innocent people, defending their families, villages, and properties in the provinces of Deir ez-Zor and Hasakeh, and in the city of Kamilshli. He also stated that there is no legal basis for such a U.S. military presence without Syrian approval and in contravention of the established provisions of international law, both conventional and customary. We now move on to other topics. On Wednesday, the Ecuadorian government closed the first oil well in the 43 ITT block in the Usani National Park in the Amazon as part of the compliance of the popular mandate that demands to leave the oil in the ground. Authorities from Ecuador's Ministry of Energy and Mines went to the province of Orellana in the Amazon region to verify the shutdown of the Ishpingo B56 well, one of the 247 wells in the oil field. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Antonio Goncalves, stated at the protocol ceremony that the closure of the ITT is not an easy job and requires special and technical planning, and insisted that the total shutdown should take place in 5 years and 5 months to avoid affecting the environment and much less the surrounding communities. Also on Thursday, Typhoon Shanshan, categorized as very strong, made landfall on the main island of Kyushu, southwest of Japan, with heavy rains and winds that, according to the Japanese Meteorological Agency, could destroy houses. The number of people injured by the typhoon rose from 9 to 39 in Kyushu, while a total of 30 people were injured in the Miyazaki prefecture and another 9 in Kagoshima. Due to the weather phenomenon, evacuation orders have been issued for more than 2.2 million people on the islands of Kyushu and Shikoku, in addition to a high-level warning for 2,300 inhabitants in the city of Yufu in the Oita prefecture. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.